Welcome to Exercise for Beginners, where I teach you how to get started if you've never started before. This week, we're going to go over an arm day, part 3. To get you started, I'm going to have you grab a couple of lighter dumbbells and a long 1/4-inch band. Depending on the movement, we're doing like triceps, biceps, shoulders today. Biceps, you might be able to do heavier weights than 5 pounds. They are a stronger muscle. So I'm going to show you the movement, but obviously, if it's really easy, you should go up. All right, first one's first though. Usually as low as 3 or 5 pounds is enough for this one. We're going to do an overhead tricep extension. So I like to hold it by the end of the dumbbell here, kind of cupped between the index finger and the thumb. By the end, so overhead, arm back, straight up. If you need to, you can place a hand here for a little bit of stabilization. It also gives you a surface to like push against as you're extending up. So it's helpful as it gets heavier if you've like just increased your weight. Right, you do want to keep that arm back though, as much as you can. If you're like way up here doing this, it's too heavy for you. All right, so keep that arm back. All right. Next on our tricep agenda, you're going to want to grab your long band. So you're going to need both hands for this one. One hand is going to act as the stabilizer, so your arm up overhead, while the other arm performs the movement. So stabilizing overhead, elbow tucked. On the other side, you're going to extend down. So this is just a tricep extension, different type. You can obviously curl the band around. If you want a little bit more tension, that's totally up to you. I like this one. I think it's pretty effective. Nice thing about bands is you can make it as easy or as hard as you need to by just shortening the tension, creating more or less. They're pretty malleable. All right, next we're going to perform some different bicep curls. So grab your 5 pounds. I do think most people can start with at least 8 when it comes to bicep curls. Let's start with 5. No harm, no foul. Next time you can always do more. All right, so you got your 5 pounds. We're going to be doing a hammer curl. So think hammering, right? So you're going to have a neutral grip with this. So with a lot of bicep curls, palm up, right? So neutral just means palms facing each other. All right, so you're standing nice and tall, shoulders down. You're going to curl up towards your shoulders and back down, up, down. So the reason we change our hand positions is that it works different parts of the biceps. So biceps, bi meaning 2 parts, 2 different heads. So you have your long head and your short head of your bicep. So this one is going to work the long head, if I'm not mistaken. It's good to change positions. It's just like with your shoulders. You have all different types of angles you can work because there's all different types of muscles supporting those different angles. So there is your hammer curl. Pretty straightforward, right? After that, go ahead and take a seat. Behind you, we're going to do a concentration curl. So concentration is more isolated. So you're going to take dumbbell in one hand. This one you can also probably do more weight with because you're going to be bracing the back of your elbow inside your thigh here. All right. So this is going to give you some leverage as you pull up. So you're going to hinge over, brace that elbow inside the thigh, and you're going to curl up. One of my clients likes to call this her bro curls when we started doing these. They're very useful, very effective, especially if you're kind of in between weights, because just like when you're doing that like overhead tricep extension that we did in the beginning and you're using your hand to brace the elbow, give you something to push against, it helps with those in between weights, right? You're not quite ready to fully jump, but you kind of have to at some point. And just drop your reps. But yeah, this is a great way to offer your arms some stability, so you can just focus on getting that curl, and it's not just all like freehand willy-nilly. Okay, and the best part about only having light weights around is that they are ideal for shoulder exercises. Even I don't do super heavy weights for a lot of shoulder exercises. So we're going to start with our tried and true, a lateral shoulder raise. Now I will say for some, this 5 pounds might be too much. So if you need 2s or 3s, go out and get them. They're literally just a couple bucks per pound, so they're not very expensive. And it's better to have them because if you ever do have issues, most of the time your rehab type stuff requires those lighter weights. They're just good to have around. You know, for 20 bucks, you can have a whole set from 2s to 8s. Not very expensive. All right, so those are your lateral raises. And then from here, I'm gonna have you do your V raises. So instead of right in front of you, like a front raise, V raise is somewhere in the middle. If you can see, my hands are kind of diagonal on my thigh here. So lateral, you're here. Front, you're here. V, you're on an angle here. You're gonna lift your arms up in a V. So you might ask, Casey, why are we doing 2 relatively similar raises here? Well, you have 3 heads to your deltoid, your shoulder muscle, right? The cap over here. You have posterior, lateral, right down the center, and interior. All right. What gets worked the most? Interior definitely gets worked the most, right? That's involved in anything pushing. Lateral gets worked quite a bit, especially if you're doing an overhead press. The one that gets neglected the most is posterior. When you're doing any of like my shoulder rotator cuff type videos, those ones are working mostly posterior, and that's because that's the one that's going to stabilize and help stabilize the shoulder joint. So we do laterals and V's to just work the different angles of the deltoid muscle. So keep those elbows nice and straight. Pretty straightforward. All right, those are your 6 exercises today for arm day. So do 2 to 3 sets, anywhere from 8, 10, 12 reps, and you should be good to go. Thank you for joining me this week on Exercise for Beginners. I hope you found it useful. If you enjoy this content, I try to post every Tuesday when I am not crazy busy. Please reach out if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer. My email is in my bio. Subscribe to my channel if you like this content. Thanks.